Hey guys, a very good morning and welcome to a new daily market outlook. Starting off with the dollar index, the dollar index moved up higher pretty much as expected, of course, in towards that 4-hour supply zone once again. Now, the longer that we stay inside this supply zone, the more probability there is that we're going to start breaking out in towards the upside. This is something that we're already seeing on the major dollar pairs. They're already all dropping due to a strong dollar. So I am looking for further upside from the dollar index for now. What I really want to happen is this high get taken out. For now, overall, kind of like the order flow that we have, of course, is this sell before the big buy. That is now pretty much your entire area of demand. So expecting further upside from here until pretty much the low over here down below goes. We have still some demand or some refined demand inside here, which we could push into. But overall, I am just looking and expecting further upside. Of course, the 4-hour is still bearish, guys. But the longer that we position ourselves within areas of supply, the more probability there is that we're going to start breaking out of them. For the rest, I do think that the dollar index is going to start following euro dollar structure-wise by breaking the overall 4-hour swing structure and providing us with further upside so that the euro dollar can move further in towards the downside. There is still potential, of course, for a pullback once again, but that is something that I'll be monitoring. Unless we don't break, let's say, this low, I still think that the dollar is ready to push up higher. Now, moving on in towards euro dollar, so our main pair that we love trading, of course. So euro dollar has been moving in towards the downside beautifully. So when you kind of see a pair, let's say, move down this aggressively, there aren't really like any clean swings, right? So for example, over here we had this clean area of supply, so you kind of want to see this clean swing back before kind of like that drop in towards the downside once again. That is kind of like the ideal scenario in our head. However, what you often see in these situations is that the market just follows the overall order flow. And so with that overall order flow, what I'm essentially meaning and referring to is just every single time the buy before the sell. So ultimately what you saw, of course, was over here a buy before a big sell-off. Market comes back, sells off. Then again, this is kind of like your entire buy before the sell. Market comes back in after closing outside. And then again, an aggressive sell-off. And of course, you want to see it kind of like moving towards this refined area of supply. But not always is the market that perfect. So I still have this refined area of supply drawn on. Let's say we kind of like start pulling back now this morning, then I'll be keeping my eyes out for this zone over here and potentially look for a short from there. So that's the potential shorting opportunity that I see on the cards for ourselves. Overall, if we just draw in 4-hour structure and the 4-hour BOS, whatever you want to call it, then we of course had our 4-hour BOS yesterday afternoon. So now after BOS, what do you expect? You expect a pullback, but when do we expect a pullback to occur, guys? Kind of like structure-wise, what you expect is the pullback to occur once we break fractal structure. So at the moment, this over here, this bearish candle's high is your fractal high. So once we start breaking this high, then I would say, okay, we can start seeing a pullback, for example, in towards this supply zone. And then I would like to look for a short. Why that supply zone? It's the only fresh area of supply in this entire leg down at the moment. For the rest, it's of course also situated in the premium, and there's a lot of liquidity lying above kind of like this trend line over here. So keep on shorting the overall order flow in towards the downside. That's my advice until we break that order flow, because once that order flow breaks, we also break kind of like the fractal structure after a pullback, and that kind of means and indicates that the pullback is then over, and then you just want to follow that order flow in towards the highs until of course we break that order flow, break that fractal structure, and then we start shorting again. So that is my advice and what I'm going to be looking for on your dollar. Of course, we have kind of like this massive clean move over here. We can just start mirroring in towards the downside. If your dollar decides just to start crashing in towards the downside and we do get kind of like a shorting opportunity on the 15, then my first target will kind of like be this sub for the buy range with my target around 1.07564. So that is euro dollar going in towards the 15. So at the moment over here on the 15-minute time frame, this is your 15-minute high, which is protected, which is strong, and this is your 50-minute low. So during this morning, of course, a very aggressive sell-off, which pretty much initiated at 7 a.m. Paris time zone, Amsterdam time zone. So we took out the liquidity above the high located over here. Then again, kind of like saw this ascending pattern with a 1, a 2, a 3, sell off in towards the downside. So from that moment onwards, what you would want to see is pretty much kind of like that change of character to confirm your potential entry. But yeah, ultimately we have the liquidity. We have, again, if you draw in premium versus discount over here, or excuse me, it should be from this high over here. Then what you see is that we pretty much exactly pull back again in towards that 50% mark over here as a zone. So we have pretty much all the confluences except for like the exact area of supply, which I would have preferred to tap into, being, let's say, this refined area of supply over here, this buy before the sell-off. But I mean, we can still move in towards there. Doesn't need to happen, of course, because overall from a 4-hour perspective, we've already pushed in towards, let's say, the large order flow block. So what I'll now do is, let's say we just start crashing down once again. Maybe New York session will pull back. Then we just look to short from this new buy before the sell to mirror this move in towards the downside. So that's overall the play on euro dollar here. Still for the shorts until we break the 4-hour order flow. Moving on in towards AUD USD. So AUD USD, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, we kind of stalled inside this area of demand over here on the 4-hour. But now what has happened is, of course, we've now seen that fractal break of structure. So I'm now looking for that further sell-off in towards the downside. So over here, 4-hour change of character, 4-hour fractal structure break. So what I'll be waiting for is, of course, over here we have, for example, our supply zone in that leg in towards the downside. So I'll be looking for further shorts on Aussie dollar. Let's see how it develops overall. Yeah, it's a pretty ugly market, I would say, still pretty rangy. Because if we just look at it overall, then it's kind of like, this is kind of like a range, right? Where this is, let's say, the high of the range, this is the low of the range. Here you kind of like took out the liquidity above the highs and then you just sold off aggressively in towards the downside. So yeah, we could start looking for shorts, but keep my eyes open. Potentially, if you start seeing a pullback in towards kind of like this range over here, you could see kind of like a further downside continuation, but then keep an eye on this wick that already tapped in, already got the orders from the supply zone, and then it sold off very aggressively. So again, maybe there's now supply located inside that wick. So maybe if we tap in towards there, you can look for those further shorts. But again, not kind of like very ideal, I would say, for the shorting opportunity. A pretty messy pair, but I am definitely expecting that further downside momentum. But for myself, the focus now really lies on euro dollar. So moving on in towards pound dollar. So pound dollar, yeah, pretty much again as the same as euro dollar or Aussie dollar. Of course, we had this area of demand. So at the moment, what has happened is that we've broken the fractal low. We pulled back and now moving back in towards the downside. So I am looking for shorts on pound dollar. I'm looking at the 15-minute time frame for that potential shorting opportunity. Just to give you guys some more clarity from a higher time frame perspective, we have weekly supply over here, guys. So we're inside weekly supply. From a daily perspective, we have this daily buy before the sell-off. Pretty much a pullback in towards the 618 fib. Yeah, that's what we got there. Moving down again in towards the 4-hour. And by the way, on the daily, we also have this daily area of demand situated over here, which I'm kind of like looking for us to sell off deeper in towards. Looking at the 4-hour now, we've broken order flow, so we're now looking for further downside. And on the 15-minute time frame as well, what do we see over here? Pretty much the same, I would say, where, let me see. So if we just draw in structure real quick, you kind of have this. So we had an uptrend and high over here, then a low, then a high, then a low, then a high, then let's say a lower low over here, lower high, because we had that break over there. Then this became your low and this became your high over here. So, but I would focus on new structure, let me put it that way. So again, high break over here. Now we've broken this significant low over here. So yeah, you could kind of say you wanted to see pull back in towards there, in towards kind of like this area of consolidation before selling off. Could still happen. Maybe the sell-off is a little bit too early, but I'll be keeping my eyes out open. Excuse me. If we potentially pull back, then look for that shorting opportunity, or you can also look for a short from here. But just focus pretty much on that 4-hour fractal structure and see if those opportunities come to you, and don't really chase them. Again, euro dollar is looking the best. I'm really confident that we're going to be breaking this low over here on the 4-hour of GU very, very soon. So look for those shorting opportunities in towards the downside. Nzdusd, 4-hour BOS happened over here in towards the highs. This was your high, and this is now your swing low. So we're now kind of like moving in towards the extreme point of the overall Nzdusd 4-hour swing range. So it's from this low in towards this high. No areas, or no real clear areas of demand. Also 4-hour fractal break of structure. What I'm looking for, I'm not going to be shorting from here in any way or form. So what I'm now waiting for is either a pullback in towards, let's say, this area of supply, then kind of like a 4-hour fractal structure change, and then I'll short it. Or what I'm looking for is a 4-hour BOS over here, and then I'll look for shorts once we pull back. Very simple and clear on Nzdusd, because overall, if we look at the daily is of course ready to push in towards the downside, it looks like, if we break below that 4-hour low, which is also your daily fractal low, guys. So that's the low which broke this fractal high. So if we can break that, then I do expect for the downside until, for example, this area of demand over here, and that will then in turn give us a 4-hour BOS, which will in turn give us the confirmation that the 4-hour is ready to push in towards the downside. So that's gold. That's Nzdusd. Last of all, gold. So gold sold off very aggressively in towards the downside. So we kind of like moved back into what was previously supply and now seems to be demand. I'm not really trading gold at the moment, guys. Just a little bit too aggressive for my liking. Of course, I was keeping an eye out for this area of demand over here, this range, but yeah, nothing at all. We just saw kind of like this minor wick over here on the 1 hour. On the 15-minute as well, you kind of like saw a reaction over here of, let's say, support forming or some demand flow. But again, what you wanted like to see is like, okay, break of this low, then a push up, break of that high, and then kind of you can look for those longs, because then this turns into demand. But at the moment, it's just, yeah, it's just supply. So maybe gold will move a little bit up higher in towards this supply zone and then react from there. Maybe move back down, just kind of like range a bit, because I do think it needs to consolidate a bit after 2 of these massive moves. So I'm not really interested in trading gold at the moment. Main focus for today is euro dollar. So wish you all a fantastic day, guys. Thank you so much again, for tuning in, and I wish you all a fantastic day. Thanks.